Hello there. Work with me today. I work from home, and you can hear some sound of the paper flipping, keyboard typing, mouse clicking, and yes, I work for manufacturing company in Canada. I'm actually on the work permit. So this is the place where I live, and it's about 30 minutes away from my work with the bus. I finished here in Canada supply chain management program at one of the colleges at the Greater Toronto area. And I was fortunate to, after my graduation, to find a job in a manufacturing company, and my job is to make sure that we get the raw material on time in 3 different locations, as this is the recycling company that purchase old corrugated which was used and packed or pressed in bales and usually wrapped with wires. Approximate bale weight is in between 1,700 pounds to 2,500 pounds, more or less. So what you see right now, I am getting different emails from different suppliers that we are buying material, and I am in charge for approving charges such as additional waiting time during unloading the load at one of our locations. We have, for example, 2 hours free of charge. Everything above 2 hours is charged, so the carriers don't lose completely their profit, because if they stuck with our location more than 2 hours and, for example, they need to be elsewhere, that way that money that we pay them for staying extra until they get their turn to get unloaded helps them with additional costs and rescheduling the other locations. Everything is like a domino effect, so when we have problems, we have to pay for those problems. Sometimes the manufacturing sites are having electrical, mechanical, and all other kinds of operational issues. So at time we do have situations when the loads actually staying there, unfortunately, in between 5, 7, 10 hours. If something really goes down, the storage area gets filled in, since the concept is to have a certain amount on the floor for processing, and then most of the time everything is being calculated based on the process and production. So the incoming loads are every from Monday to Friday, they have a certain levels. For example, on Mondays, for one of the mills we need approximately maybe 2,000 tons of all corrugated, while on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays and Fridays we need different levels. And everything is done in corporation with the mail management. So right now I was looking in one of the invoices that the carrier was charging us, and we changed the location of the delivery. They forgot to update the price because from two, depending on the distance and agreed amount to pay between those two locations, has different prices. Sometimes it's a very small amount, sometimes it's a significant amount. So I was trying to fix that problem, because I think what happened is that accounting, when they charge us, they probably didn't get an update on change for that load, that they changed the location for the delivery. So I was sending email back to contact that I have so they can change the proper delivery location and change the lane rate. And the difference was, in this case, $50. The lane's supposed to be cheaper, $50, than the one they charged us. This could sound very boring, but this is logistics. This is basically all about the numbers, checking, coordinating, fixing, processing tons of information on a daily basis. You only watched me here for maybe approximately half hour, but my work day starts from 8 and then I finish at 4 p.m. I have one break of 1 hour, and usually I take my break from 1 to 2 p.m. That time I'm just trying to eat something or stretch my legs, go for a walk. I do live in a suburb area, so even if I step outside, it's actually very quiet. I can actually have that quiet and nice peaceful walk to get my brain to be reset, and then I come back and continue. The table that I'm using, it's not really the most comfortable. It's what they call it, a breakfast table with the high sitting chairs, which you only use for a short amount of time. Since I wasn't sure how long this situation when working from home will last, because we are in this pandemic situation where most people work from home at this point, the good thing is that our job allows us to work from home, and we can communicate with people just with emails. Most of the time I don't need phones because I don't work as a dispatcher. Some days I have to contact carriers, some days I have emergencies, but usually everything is pre-set up, pre-scheduled, and organized through emails, because we need to have some sort of backup if something goes wrong, or if situation gets complicated, and then you have some sort of a proof that you gave them, for example, certain day to deliver the load, and they get late, they showed up in a wrong location, which happens every now and then they charge us for not taking the load because the driver did not had either proper paperwork from their dispatch, or either he wasn't sure exactly where to go, and then he shows up completely elsewhere. Some days we are able to fix the issue right on the spot if it's in between 8 and 4 p.m. But if they come later, the last person in my department works up till 5 p.m. and after 5 p.m. nobody's answering phone calls. Unfortunately, that's the policy of the company. We do not have a person who is checking 24/7 these incoming loads. We do receive 24/7, but we do not have a dispatch. Like I said, everything is pre-scheduled, pre-booked, and it's all about the due diligence to get those loads as it's been settled via emails in between suppliers and carriers. Most of the time I am trying to understand these charges, whether if we had issues or if they were late, if the load was not accepted, there was too much contamination in it. So if it goes back, that's another additional cost to supplier, because if they give us a very, very bad material, we will charge them back. We will pay for the carrier, but all that amount that we pay to carrier, because it's not their fault that material was completely contaminated or unusable, so we charge the supplier and then they're aware of the whole process. We usually never have this problem. Everything has been like, this company is in a business for 75 years. They started in downtown Toronto and then they moved to Scarborough area, which is also part of Toronto. And it's just interesting that they have been so long in the business, and as I was researching a little bit about this company, they never had a laid-offs. They were very steady, very good profit. They are actually like a medium-sized company, but appears that they never really had any major problems. They have hiccups. They have some of the departments have definitely incompetent managers, I have to say, from my point of view, because they've been so long there and they're not really making any changes. They get too comfortable in the positions, and when you come from the outside and if you work in places where you've been taught discipline, organization, to take responsibility, to be fully independent, no need for micromanagement, and you come in a completely different environment, you are getting a little bit overwhelmed, because it's more about I would say old school style management, which is not always a bad thing, but in manufacturing business it's necessary to keep up with technology. It's not just technology, it's about training people to be aware of the changes and then deal with the completely different set of informations and how to convert those informations into statistics, which can help to determine whether you have a loss or a profit. And simple reports can actually be very, very useful in logistics. To be honest, I find logistics very interesting because I do like working with the numbers. It's never boring, it's always something happening. I wish I was a little bit more on the field as well. I'm pretty much stuck in the office. So my previous experiences were more like a field work. So when I came to Canada in 2015, when I started my studies, my first serious job was with this manufacturing company, which I started in August 2017. And I was hired as a temporary worker just for a couple of months. But I think after staying there for 5 months, I managed to quickly learn and adapt to the work, and I was making sure to improve little things time to time so I can make things smoother, faster, in organized manner. And of course, the manager at that time, she noticed that I did my best, and then she's like, okay, we're gonna hire you for full time, even though I was on my postgraduate work permit at that time. It's a completely another set of issues when you are an immigrant. This company don't actually hire too many international workers. They usually hire Canadians. Every now and then they will have a student from different country, and they will have their apprenticeship or summer work with them. But in general, they never hired anybody with postgraduate work permit like me. Apparently, it was another person before me, and then me, and then I had to go through a lot of paperwork, and HR was assisting me with that. It was a good thing that the HR business partner, she was aware of my status, so it was not a big an issue for her to help me. So I actually have found a good support on that side, and then I managed to submit all of my paperwork on time, and then I'm right now waiting for my permanent residence. It is interesting that I start to work in really, in the end, I would say very a steady and profitable company. Some people are not as fortunate. They get a jobs and they lose the jobs. I was just reading about a family. I was listening on YouTube about a family. They came from Europe. The husband got a job, he got a work permit, and then unfortunately due to pandemic situation, the company, as a construction company, they didn't have enough job for everybody, so they had to lay off some people. Unfortunately, this family who just moved into Canada, they were in Canada for about 8 months. He was laid off, but actually they were on the end very happy and pleased to come back to their native country, because they miss the people, they miss their own culture. Most of their lifetime they spent in their native country. So when this person was laid off, he actually had another offers. He was able to stay, but something changed inside of him and his wife. They were just thinking, no, this is not exactly where we want to spend the rest of our lives. And they went back home maybe like a month ago. I was looking another and listening their second blog since they got back. They look very satisfied and happy. They do have a house. They did left a pretty decent life back. So they thought that this was an interesting adventure. But their final is they're not going anywhere this is their home country, their culture, their people, so they're not going back anymore anywhere. He still has a work permit for Canada, but he doesn't want to go back. Anyways, here I was looking at the sales paperwork. Sometimes we have excess of the corrugated that we select from smaller retailers, locations around province Ontario, and then we sell that certain amount to other paper companies. They're in close area. One is in Mississauga, one is in Toronto, right there, like it's maybe 45 minutes away by car. They are the major suppliers that actually even they sell the paper to us, but they also buy the paper from us. The reason for that I cannot explain, but I think it's because they have different machinery, and sometimes when they're purchasing different material from us, they're capable of processing that paperwork in more productive manner rather than what my company does with bigger bales. So we also have some profit like that, and I make sure to charge them properly by the tonnage. Sometimes we're talking about very small amounts, maybe like 1, 4, 5, 6 tons per each scale ticket. Every single load that comes at their location from us is being weighted, and their scale ticket is an evidence for us to understand how much material we sold to them. So there is no conflict because their scale shows the amount and we go by their scale ticket. And we have also the rates that we agree on monthly basis based on American market, specifically the market from Michigan, because that's the closest state to the border of Canada. That's another completely set of information on pricing, on understanding the base of the pulp and paper, which I'm not really aware exactly how they come up to certain prices and why it's fluctuating from month to month. It all depends from export or import, I guess, of some stuff. But basically, this manufacturing company is producing all kinds of packagings for smaller or franchises like Tim Hortons, Pizza Pizza, and many other companies. They produce frozen products, and they have paper packages which you can find in freezers with the pictures of the food on it, which when you open you find the package of the frozen food, so that cover, that paper. This company is actually supporting a lot of production companies, and they also have a big team of the salespeople. They go around and always look for potential buyers of the products. They have a designing team which designs these packages and always trying to support the business like that. So proper marketing, proper designing and labeling the products, it's all on the end going to be done in this company, from the processing of old corrugated to the fine lining paper, which has different quality, thickness, due to needs of certain packages. Some packages are more sturdier, some softer. Like I said, it's all depend on the needs, depending on product, how product is being saved, how a product is going to be transported. That's all being included in all that. I'm not really part of the department like designing or sales. I am completely on opposite side of that. I'm working in a department that only deals with incoming loads. We call it raw material, even though it's actually a finished product but used and tossed in the garbage, which is just being reprocessed again. And I saw the process in one of the mills, and trust me, it's very complex. The old corrugated bales, all those metal wires, they get snapped. They've been tossed in a huge barrel with the water, and then there is a rope that goes around and cleans the paper by turning that wire around, all that garbage and unnecessary stuff that you cannot see in the bale get caught up on that big rope. And then the rest of the paper goes further through the system, through the filters, and gets breakdown into particles and goes into the drying process, bleaching process, and gets produced as a lining paper. And then of course they're using corrugated system where you have that zigzag liners between two sheets, which makes boxes more sturdier and usable for transportation and packing more sensitive stuff. So that's about that. So I'm almost at the end of my video. Here I'm just going through invoices that I need to charge. I'm actually looking at the scale tickets, and that's about that. So I hope you kind of enjoy but not enjoy my discussion, because I'm sure you don't really need to know about logistics that much, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you fall asleep by now. Have a good night.